This is Festival Pass Stories, a podcast series is told by the people who create and make festivals come to life. You will go behind the stage, kitchen, or studio door to hear the stories of passion and inspiration that started some of the world's most beloved festivals. Hear the startup stories and how an idea went from what if to what's next. All right, friends, welcome back. The Festival Pass Stories podcast is, of course, presented by Dos Hombres, the award-winning artisanal mezcal meant to be shared. Created by Aaron Paul and Brian Cranston. Have a drink with us at doshombres.com/delivery. Now, friends, we always take you behind the scenes to hear those stories of passion and inspiration that are behind the best festivals and live events. My guest today is taking us under the sea, so to speak, if you will, to share some fish stories, but these are actual, real, authentic stories, not like my fish stories. And I might even share a few of my own. You never know. Now, it's going to take me, I got to take a deep breath to say your introduction because there's so much this guy has done, but here we go. All right. He is the 3-time world sailfish champion, the 2-time Emmy-nominated TV host of Bass to Billfish with Peter Miller and Uncharted Waters on NBC and Discovery, respectively, and my 1-time auctioneer co-host of the Boys and Girls Club in Santa Monica, California. Ladies and gentlemen, the host, producer, philanthropist, professional angler with a great tan, can't leave that out, and now I'm out of superlatives. It's Peter Miller. Peter, what is happening, my friend?
And the crowd goes wild. Woo!
That was a lot. That was a lot there. I had to practice that one.
Man, that was probably the best intro I've had. A lot of people. I was on a show once, and the news anchor said to me, she goes, "So you're Peter Miller from Bass to Bluefish, huh?" And I was like, "It's Billfish." And I was on live TV, and I was like, "Oh boy!" My phone started buzzing in my pocket. All my friends were calling me. They're like, "What's up, Bluefish?" Anyway, so fantastic job. I'm excited to be talking with you. It's great to see you again after the Boys and Girls Club event where you absolutely killed it. You're an impressive auctioneer. I mean, you blew me away, and you have a great personality, super friendly, down there. So great, great accolades out to you.
It's not about me, but I appreciate it. And hey, if you need a hype man, I'd say on the road, but if you need a hype man on the water, I can pretty much do this from anywhere.
Yeah.
So as long as we can get Wi-Fi on the boat, we can host the podcast anywhere.
Yeah.
And so she said bass to bluefish. Bluefish is like the most disgusting fish unless you smoke the hell out of it. From what the little I do know about fishing and so on, but it's bass. Talking about ruining the name of the show, but it's bass to billfish, not bass like be-doo-doo-doo. So it's not like
it's spelled the same way.
Yeah, but it's not rock and roll meets
exactly.
Fishing. Yeah, it's bass, folks. We're talking about fishing from bass to billfish. So look, you've done so much. We were covering that quickly, and we'll get into all the different areas of your life. But why don't you take us back? It's always great to hear the backstory of how you had your passion, and now it's become your living, which is amazing. And you're able to live in this beautiful home with gorgeous sailfish artwork in the background and so on. But take us back to the before the awards, before the sponsorship deals. I see the Salt Life right on there, and you've got the show right on the hat. But, before the cars and the boats. Well, I shouldn't say before the boats because the boats are part of the business. But seriously, where did you find this love of the ocean? Because you grew up in New York, and you're more like a river guy than an ocean guy. So how did this all come about when you were a kid?
Well, luckily, my dad was into fishing, not like really heavily into it, but it was kind of our thing. And he would take me, we lived in Rockland County in upstate New York, 25 minutes north of Manhattan. Yeah. He worked in the city, and on his time off, he'd say, "Hey, Peter, let's go fishing." We'd throw the ball. It was pretty classic, great relationship, father and son relationship. And at 3 years old, he would take me to lakes.
We need some Americana music going in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah, we could have our friend Joe Everson painting the American flag going past. Yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah, he's great. Joe Everson art. Check him out.
Yeah. So basically, I would go with a container of worms. And he'd bring me to the pond or a lake, and we'd catch catfish and little sunnies and carp. And then I started fishing with my friends when I got a little older. And then gradually we migrated to getting a boat that we kept in the Hudson River under the Tappan Bridge in that area. And we'd run out to like Sandy Hook, or we'd run out to like Long Island and catch bluefish and fluke and flounder and stripers and that sort of thing. And then one day we went down to Miami. And we stayed at I can't remember the name of the hotel. I think it was the Carillon Hotel. They didn't even allow children. My dad's like, hey, keep it quiet around here. So we went in there.
He had a fake mustache on.
Yeah.
He's short. He's short for his age.
Yeah, I was on my sister's shoulders, and she'd walk, and I was the head, and she was the feet. Yes. But like a little rascals.
Yeah.
But so my dad took me on a charter boat, which was out of Hollywood or Hallandale, and I caught a hammerhead shark. And when I was like 10,
wow.
Caught a sailfish, and we had them both mounted, and that was it. That was when it really kicked in, and I was full bore. I'm like, I'm gonna have a fishing TV show one day. I want to fish like any chance I get. So everywhere we went, any vacation, it entailed fishing, bait, fishing rod. Where do I fish? I went to the local tackle store, and that's pretty much that was it. I mean, that's all I did. It was, work a little bit, shoveling driveways to make money to buy tackle, and then into that fishing world, like full speed ahead.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, it's right there, low hanging fruit. So you were hooked.
I was literally and figuratively. I have a hook in my finger that I had to pull out. I had a hook in my leg that I had to pull out. So yeah, both. Literally and figuratively.
I'm going to get the hook as host if I keep going with these dad jokes. But anyway, so you visit Miami and then you go from Tappan or Tappan. So why is it Tappan, New York, but it's Tappan Zee Bridge?
That's a good question. Tappan Zee Bridge, Tappan. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
And in your mind, it was upstate New York. You said that. Now, that's going to be controversial. We're going to get a lot of letters. People are going to hear this. They'll be like, Rockland County is not. Poughkeepsie is where upstate starts. Or
Syracuse.
Like yeah, right. Yeah. You're going to get people, no, man, I'm telling you, it's Elmira. That's where upstate's. Albany is where it's. So there's that. But
totally.
So you go from Tappan, and, potato, whatever. I'm Irish, so I can use that reference.
Yeah.
To Miami, Florida, for school, and you go to the University of Miami, and while you're pursuing your marketing degree, you founded a fishing team. And I was thinking earlier, what we should do now is have a professional fishing team league. This probably been out there before, but how about we start a new show called Monday Night Fishing? So when they introduce you, you could be like, those. When they introduce the players, and Al Michaels is like, all right, let's meet the team. And they have those awkward introductions. And you could be there like, with the hood up. You could be like, Peter Miller, the U. Right? You've probably been dying to say that forever.
Yeah. They're like, like casual though, because, you're pretty stoic at that age, when you're the younger age. But yeah, I like that idea. Yeah. Nobody
tells those guys to smile. Like you're on TV. It's like, people forget to smile when they're on TV or something. And like those guys, those introductions are also, it's like Joe Smith, Maryland.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, that's great, Joe. We got it. Thanks. And then he sees himself on TV. He's like, why didn't anybody? That's the take?
Yeah, like almost show it to him. You should show the guy his take and go, okay, that was great. That was just a practice run. Now, how do you want to really do it? That sometimes I feel like doing that, like when I would have guests on the show, because they were really animated. They would audition to be on my original show, Bass to Billfish, and they were super animated because it was their camera at their house. But when they would show up and there'd be 4 cameramen on them, they would like be running from the camera. The camera would be here, and they'd be like, turning, and my cameramen were chasing them, and we'd have interviews that were facing the ocean originally, and then 5 minutes later they spun so hard we're now filming a dumpster in an alley, and I'm like, well, that's a great shot, and that happened a lot. So I was like, one night I was like, hey guys, let's look at that tape from today. They're like, oh wow, we seem like really kind of quiet. I go, yeah, let's spice it up a little bit. So that kind of helped. I did it a couple times, but I didn't want to be like a douche about it.
I don't think Monday Night Fishing is my worst idea ever. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that could be something that we could do. There's so many former NFL guys. Justin Tuck is one I'm just thinking of right now. Like he's a major fishing guy, and I bet you could set that up. You could have teams, ex-NFLers and you take them out. Anyway, no more free ideas for you. You got enough jobs going on.
Trademark, Pat Tully.
Yeah, thank you. And in fact, you're even heading to the Bahamas to shoot another show soon, right?
Yeah, I'm gearing up for a 7-day trip to Harbor Island from Miami, which is about a 240-mile run in my new 35 Cat invincible with twin 400 Mercuries. I'm giving you the layout because a lot of people say, what kind of engine? So I'd rather give it to you like up front.
Yeah.
I'm not selling it as much as I'm kind of just describing it. So it's like a catamaran hull, which is the new style boat for this Miami area, which rides incredibly well. You have a 3-foot chop coming at you and you're going 40 right through it and you're not even spilling your drink, you know, and with your drink is probably water or coffee, of course, because it's responsible.
No, it's Dos Hombres. It's
Dos Hombres.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Artisanal mezcal for me.
Yeah, it's artisanal mezcal. I mean, how can you lose? And my 2 favorite guys and my favorite show, Breaking Bad. Come on, that was like, all right. So I digress.
Yeah,
that's
how you get a free bottle, folks. That is how you get a free bottle, and there'll be one coming your way.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. But you can send a case. I'll give you if you FedEx. That'd be great because I'm leaving in a couple of days. But anyway, so we're gonna be loading the boat up. I got 4 cameramen. I got my main camera 2. I got my slow-mo guy, and then I have my drone photographer guy. I have an extra captain. I have an extra mate, myself, and my girlfriend, and all of our on this boat, with ice and bait and food and drinks and live bait in the wells. I mean, we're going over, loaded 240 miles. We get there and we're staying at a friend of mine's beautiful home, and they have an island with pigs on it. You've seen these islands where the pigs come out, you feed them. Yeah. Then they have another island with these turtles that will swim around and you can feed them squid, like hand-fed squid, which I kind of feel weird about because they remind me of like birds that would like peck you, So I guess you wear a glove and kind of maybe just drop it. And then we have horses on the beach that we're going to be filming and riding. And I'm kind of a wimp. I'm not a cowboy. Okay. I'm a fisherman. So I'm kind of nervous. Like if they start running, my body doesn't like it. It does not react well. I think I pop vertebrae. I have to put on like A&D ointment when it's all done. I look like I've been riding a pony up a mountain for 2 days. Anyway, there's a blue hole as well. We're going to be jumping off a cliff into a blue hole. So the premise of this Uncharted Waters show on the Discovery Channel, which premieres in March 27th on Discovery Channel.
And they have the new streaming. This is all the new streaming stuff with Discovery, right?
Exactly. Discovery Go. We're on Amazon Prime, but my actual original airings are going to be on Discovery proper on the channel. And so we're going to make 2 episodes out of this, and we're going to be wahoo fishing, tuna fishing, and bottom fishing for snapper, grouper, mutton, you name it. We're going to be kind of targeting a little bit of everything, eating our catch there, cooking our catch.
Cooking, so. That makes me think of something on the boat. Like, do you ever just catch like a wahoo or something and then right on the boat, mix it up, little ceviche, little lime juice. And then, I'm just thinking, again, for our wonderful sponsor here, Dos Hombres, a mezcal, just bottle of mezcal, pour a little in the glass, squeeze a little lime in it, and then have that with some fresh ceviche. Have you ever done anything like that?
Yes, I have, and that sounds wonderful because I've never tried the Dos Hombres, and I would really like to try it. So when I get that bottle, I'm going to do exactly that. We've done sashimi, like tuna, caught like 100-pound tunas, and we've got soy sauce and wasabi. And what we do is we bleed the tuna, we put it in ice, and then we pour salt water in it, which takes the ice temperature down 7 degrees. Science.
Gotta believe the science.
Super cold, and then the meat is like firm, right? So that's what you really want. You never want to eat like a warm fish, but ceviche, you could do that. Yeah. So that's a really cool idea. We did it in Cabo, where we sliced up the wahoo and we had a giant plate of it, and I was throwing the carcass over, and a giant seal came up and took it on camera and swam away with the carcass. Giant seals in Cabo. And we had a tequila sponsor that I had at the time, and we sipped a reposado with this wahoo and sashimi, with a soy sauce and wasabi, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I had some women coming down the dock, like they were on a sailboat race, and they came down, jumped on, and we were all eating wahoo, sipping tequila, and it was great. So the Dos Hombres idea, I absolutely love, and I'd love to give it a shot, give it a try. Always looking for new sponsors. All
right, Hombres. There you go. You heard it. Okay, yeah. I have done enough pandering for them, but it is fantastic stuff, and I'm picturing that. There's a foot of snow outside here in New York. So, get me to Mexico, get me to Cabo, where this was created in Oaxaca. But get me down there, get me on a boat, some fish, fresh fish. We'll make some tacos, have it with the mezcal. Unbelievable. I can't wait for that. So, speaking of being on the boat, and we were talking about the teams, your original team was called Get Lit, which I'm sure there's multiple meanings behind that. But, you start doing that, you've got your team, And then all of a sudden brands are reaching out to you. What was that like the first time you had one of the brands like Salt Life or somebody come to you and say, we want you to wear our stuff. We want you to, drink our water or whatever it is. And, and you're like, oh my God, this is my dream to make this a living, but now someone's going to pay me to do this. This is insane.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to believe. And to this day, after doing it for the past almost 30 years, like fishing tournaments and TV shows and appearances and the seminars and whatever it was, doing sponsorships for my team, for my 2 shows, I'm still like in awe that it actually happens, where someone will come to you and say, hey, this is a so-and-so marketing agency, and we just did an analysis on your platform, and we valued it this, and we presented it to this group, and all of a sudden, I get a call from Invincible Boats, which is the top, boat manufacturer, one of the top, but very, very good. And they said, hey, do you want to come in? And I said, well, yeah, how do I pass that up? So I sat down with the president and the vice president and the marketing team and outside marketing firm. And when you have someone vouching for you, saying like, oh, he's worth that much, that's when I really knew. I was like, wow, I felt like I worked hard, and I felt like I've earned a lot of it, but you don't believe that you're sometimes worth that much. And I'm like, they're like, yeah, so this is what we came up with. I'm like, sounds about right. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, that's the number.
A little low, actually, because, it was funny. It's funny you say that, because then you get cocky. You hear that number and you're like, wow, I'm worth that much per sponsor per year with my platform. But then they hadn't figured in streaming and what the value of streaming was. And I'm like, guys, I'm streaming on Waypoint. I'm streaming on Amazon. I'm streaming on Pluto and Vudu and this and that and YouTube and social media channels with like 1 million followers if you get all of them together. And I'm like, that's valuable, but they still can't put a great number on streaming for some strange reason, like a dollar value.
So they throw a number out there, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, no, this is way too low. We need to be here. And across all the social media platforms, you're talking about streaming, but across all the social media platforms, I believe you have 1 million followers between Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all these places.
Yeah.
So there's a massive you're an influencer, man. That's it.
Yeah, I guess, and I don't, and I kind of, I make it like the show is the foundation, right? And I tell everybody that, it used to be like, oh, I'll put your hyperlink on my website. And it's like, how many clicks did you get? Like 100 for the year. It's clicks. Not really about that page, but, the show is a foundation, and then the streaming, and then the appearances, and then all the social, and then the events and the teaching and like working with you at Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. Like I didn't know how anybody in there. And all of a sudden you walk away knowing the owner of Kohl's, moments like that, right? And then you're at Arnold Schwarzenegger's house hanging out with his friends and his family. And then here comes Sylvester Stallone, and now they want to go fishing. And then I met Michael Bay. Everybody wants to go fishing. Everyone loves fishing. And that's what I really enjoy about it too, because all these bigwigs turn into like these regular people that you're always wondered about. But so anyway, getting back to it. So the streaming has a massive value, and the platform has an incredible value because I've been doing it so long, and you just got to keep pushing and maintaining. So and answer your question, getting back to it, with sponsorships like Salt Life, they've been with me for 9 years now, and they sign like 3-year contracts, and they stick to it. And those are the sponsors, the partners that you really want. There's a lot of them are year to year, and every year you're like, oh my God, are they coming back? Are they coming back?
Don't even want to cash the check yet.
Right, exactly. I've had that. I've gotten checks, and I'm holding it going, I was like, you wrote it for too much. It was actually one time it was too much, and I wanted to deposit. He's like, yeah, we're going to need that back.
Yeah, we made a little mistake. We're going to just take that back.
There's an extra 0 on there. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. So so the sponsorships, Salt Life, Invincible, Mercury. I mean, these are some of these great sponsors. Then I got technology companies like Fishing Chaos that does the studies like of a barometric pressure, boat position, wave height from boat to boat. And then you go down this list with like Yeti coolers and a cigar company I just got with Rodriguez Cigars.
Ooh, nice.
And Cobalt Construction, then a car dealership, and then all these different, these different groups. And you're kind of like, wait a second, Citizen Watches. I got my Citizen Watch here.
You're becoming NASCAR. You're going to have to wear a fire suit on the boat pretty soon.
I have one. I actually have one that I wear to events. They're like, damn, I have a suit jacket. Remember, I think I showed you. I opened it up and it had all my logos inside, and I literally NASCAR reverse. I'm like, what? Bang!
Yeah, last time we were together, we were a bit more dressed up. I think tuxedos, but pre-pandemic, of course. That's
yeah.
People used to wear adult clothing and pants, and that was a whole thing that they did.
It's such a unique idea.
So you mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger, the brands, and then the celebrities come along and the show and everything else. So you got to settle a debate for us. Who is the better fisherman, fisherwoman? Arnold Schwarzenegger or Rihanna?
Well, to date, I haven't taken either, but I've hung out with both of them. They both said they want to go fishing. Okay. She wants to go in Barbados, and he wants to go in California, maybe catch a bluefin tuna. And then Mike Tyson's at the event. He wants to go do something. And then, these other football players, these giant guys, they see me pulling on 400-pound big Goliath groupers on ropes in 40 feet of water. And it's like truly mano a mano, like hand to hand, or mano a mano, which was Roberto Duran.
Yes.
When he was fighting.
No mas. Leonard.
Yeah, he goes, no mas. And remember his excuse was, he goes, I ate too much steak last night. He was very full. And I remember being a kid going, you can use that as an excuse?
Yeah, I use that in school. I like just taking a nap in the middle of the day. I'm like, I had too much lunch.
Too much meat. I got the meat sweats.
Yeah. Too much bologna in the cafeteria. Never worked. Never worked.
Oh, that's funny. Getting back to the football player thing, when you get a big muscular football player out there, they start working so hard when they're winding on fish that it must be their, lactic acid, adrenal glands pump, and they get so pumped out like a climber would, like where you can't even move. They'll fight like one tuna this big, and they're done for the day.
It's exhausting.
And I'll go catch 100.
Yeah,
I got old man muscle.
Yeah, that's it. So you got all it's old meat in there. It's like lobster. You got lobster claws. You got lobster claws in this thing.
I don't know if the light's showing it right, but that's man. Old man muscle.
That's some serious claw right there. You got it.
That's right.
Yeah. So speaking of all these celebrities, and Rihanna wants to go fishing, and Schwarzenegger, Kevin Hart, LeBron James, and so on. But is it more interesting to hang out with them or to do a live auction with me? This must be a tough question for you.
I'll tell you what, the adrenaline level of doing a live auction with you was like so palpable, and literally I felt like my blood was going to like spurt out of my neck. Like literally when you started racing around the room with your like booming voice and you're like, let's go, blah! And I was like, oh my God, my heart was pounding like a million miles an hour. When I meet them, I get nervous for like a second, and then we're fishing and I'm in my zone. So I'm like kind of like intense, but like focused. Like with you, when we did that event, it was nerve wracking. And then a new item comes up and you're like, I hope it goes. Look at Tully going around the crowd. He's working the crowd. And I'm up there going, that's right.
And then I was like, Peter, what else we got? And you're like, hey, they can come fishing with me. I'm like, now you're going fishing with Peter on his boat. You're going to be on the Invincible with the Mercury outboards. And here we go. And you're like,
times two.
Yeah. And the CEO of Kohl's is suddenly going fishing with you. That's an activity that you could do during quarantine. I mean, there's nothing like social distancing and fishing. I mean, you're out on the open waters.
It's number one.
Yeah. Golf.
It's number one. Golf. Yeah, exactly. But fishing with like Bass Pro Shops, for instance, they like doubled and tripled their sales during COVID. Everybody. Yeah, exactly. They ran out of fishing rods. They ran out of boats.
Wow.
This and that. But Mercury didn't run out of engines. They kind of prepped. They got ready for it. And they have, by the way, they got a big announcement coming up. They got so into it that this engine they've been working on for 5 years is coming out this Friday to the public. And I actually was invited to Lake X, Secret Lake up in Orlando. Security guys in towers with guns. And you pull up, you're like, Peter Miller here, Mercury. They're like, all right, come on in, Peter. Gate opens. You go in, over. We got a bogey alert. So I come in, and these engines that they came out with are absolutely phenomenal. It's like, earth-shattering stuff coming out this Friday. And I have a cool biography, or it's kind of like a documentary on me that Invincible shot for the course of like 3 or 4 days and edited for about a month and a half. That also comes out Friday. So I got a lot of exciting things coming out this Friday.
Yeah, I'd ask you, so were you just like watching Netflix during the pandemic? You're like, I didn't have a day off. Sorry, I had some things going on. Product launches.
We shows. That. But But, I do fall into my sofa pretty deep at about 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I can Netflix till 4 in the morning. If something feels right, I mean, I'm going for it. I'm no quitter. I will finish that damn thing.
And I mean, you have kids, so you were also becoming a teacher during this time, right? I mean, I met your son, I think, right?
Yeah, he's 22 now, and he's finishing his senior year at USC in this May. And my daughter is 16, going to be 17, finishing her junior year in high school. So, he's in LA. He's doing his thing. He's got 2 classes left. But he was here during the pandemic, and I wasn't used to that. He was here day in and day out, like it was like he was in high school. Laundry, cooking, cleaning, rides, cars, this, that, money, food. I was like, how do you eat so much? How am I doing so many dishes? How much garbage and laundry is there? I literally was like a maid, a cook, a TV host, a marketing guy, a social media guy. My girlfriend was here from New York, so she was here for 10 months. And I was like, oh, wow, we got like 4 people in the house. This is intense. But I wouldn't give it up for anything, because it was like one of those times in life that you'll never get back. We would have never had that time together. So it was very, very special. And it was almost like, almost emotional in a way, because you get a chance to really reconnect,
And I think we'll look back at all this, most of it warmly, besides the absolute insane death toll, more than anybody predicted. And all of the businesses that were shuttered and jobs lost and everything else. I mean, there are some very warm family stories. I think there's going to be some documentaries coming out after this. I was talking about earlier about a kid I was talking to who just had his film in Sundance. I think next year in Sundance and these big film festivals, we love festivals on Festival Pass. That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
But you're going to see stories of families coming together, brothers and sisters who hadn't talked to each other in 20 years. My sisters and I are all over the place, and we have been in touch all the way through here. We even did stuff like I hosted. I'm like, anybody want to play Family Feud? And my sisters are like, you're still a dork. And I'm like, I know. And I'm going to, and like I hosted with the tuxedo. I did my best Steve Harvey. I'm
wow.
Give me Peggy. Give me Colleen. Let's go.
Yeah.
And we had some fun. But there's a lot of those warm stories where I think people just kind of needed each other, and you couldn't see each other. So it was like, let's get on a stupid Zoom like we're doing right now and talk. And it was just good. I reconnected with a lot of people, and it's awesome to hear that you and your kids and your girlfriend were able to be so close. But, again, speaking, I met your son and the girlfriend there at that event. That was just a nice, fun segue into your philanthropy, and you're doing all this conservation work while you're out on the water. I know you're an outspoken wildlife and environmental conservationist, and you're working with the Everglades Foundation, Florida Fish and Wildlife. I think there's one called Captains for Clean
Water. Yeah.
Captains for Clean Water. So how do you juggle all these things, or are you approaching them? Are they coming to you, or what's your involvement in all these different organizations?
Well, they're coming. They usually come to me and they ask me to come to the event and maybe speak at the event, or do some social media posts to create more awareness. A lot of times I'm sending a check, which is needed, and that's the reason for a lot of these events where they need to raise funds to be able to pay for certain things. And there's been a lot of progress in the Everglades, and I've worked with a lot of wounded vets. There are various organizations. There's a million organizations, and I got a lot of joy out of that. And also, Fish and Wildlife. Just promoting fishing, getting people outdoors, getting them fishing. Buying a fishing license, which helps facilitate, clean waters and people cleaning things up and taking care of the parks and all these little things. All these little things matter. So I try to do whatever I can when I can, and every little bit helps, I think.
And when it comes to clean water, we've had issues in this country with the water in Flint. What a disaster and travesty that was, and how that even happened is just unthinkable. It was like third world country type of stuff.
Right.
And it happened in Michigan. Michigan. And then there was sort of like this, would you call it a grassroots effort, or maybe a few celebrities getting behind it, like an Adrian Grenier and people like that. But all of a sudden, everybody said, we have to stop with the plastic straws. We have to stop because it's not only polluting the ocean, but it's choking the fish. It's choking all this wildlife. and it's killing the ecosystems. And people started pulling plastic out of the water, and now you go to Starbucks, and it's just like they give you this big plastic cup, like, well, it's a plastic lid. I'm like, what are we going to do next about all the rest of this plastic stuff? This isn't an effort to get political or to be on a soapbox, but I mean, you really saw that. You saw one person's effort or a group of people, and the straw thing, although a lot of people joke about it, really happened. And I don't like sipping out of a paper straw for a cocktail or something.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be sipping out of a straw for a cocktail anyway. I should be like a man. I should be grabbing my Dos Hombres and just sipping it
yeah.
neat.
Yeah,
I don't need a straw. But seriously, it's like what do you think could be next in terms of clean oceans? And is there another movement on the rise that people are approaching you about to say, look, we've tackled the plastic straw thing. The next thing is X.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of great organizations out there doing things. They're creating these giant nets and these whirlpools, and they're netting out all this plastic because there's like hundreds of miles by many, many miles thick, like in Central America, for instance, and it's caught in this current, and it's like a million fish under it, but it's because it's debris and little fish are hiding under it. But so people are like, oh, it's pretty. But anyway, that's being cleaned up, and that's a great thing. And then people became, very savvy when they're with single-use plastics. That's what we're talking about. That's kind of over. So now, like if you see here, I got like my Yeti cup. So I used to buy.
I was going to say I'm drinking out of a glass that I'm just washing.
I use this all day, every day, and I have a water filter in my sink, which I never did as a kid because I always thought it tasted funny. And then one day I realized, I'm drinking a case of water a day, a case of bottles. And we would bring 2 cases on the boat. So now I have like 4 different sizes of this, and I'll bring a giant one, and then I'll bring one that I drink, and then I'll re-pour into this one. So at the end of the day, we used to have like 2 garbage bags full, and now we have like a little shopping bag, like a tiny like grocery bag full. For 6 people, because everyone has their own drink. And that's been a massive change. I mean, me alone, I was 24 bottles a week, easy.
And they just end up in the ocean just by like, you're riding back into shore and they're flying off, the empty ones are flying off the boat or something. People aren't.
Sometimes, sometimes that's the case. And you remember the cruise ships were dumping their garbage in the water, and then rules and regulations on that stuff. They're trying to get rid of things. So things have definitely progressed. The water clarity, for instance, and the water flow in the Everglades is being restored slowly with a lot of effort from Captains for Clean Water and the government and donations. And what the Everglades is basically, it was called a slow moving river. And because of all the blockages and what the Army Corps of Engineers did many years ago, they kind of blocked the flow. So what happened, they started like flooding it with like fertilized water from the sugar crops and coming from Lake Okeechobee, and Lake Okeechobee would overflow. They'd overflow into the Everglades, and then it would create like mold and mildew and moss and kill all the seagrass where all the fish live. So now all of that stuff is being kind of worked on, and we're getting that flow back because of guys like these that are working on it. And going to Washington and talking about these things is very important. That's not what I do, but I support the guys that are doing it, because I'm doing my other part, showing fishing, showing kids fishing, showing, older people, younger people all over the world, like, oh, you can eat this, you can catch this, you can try this. Here's a great idea. Let's get outside. Let's enjoy the environment. And then people will pay more attention to the environment at the same time, because they see how amazing it is out there.
Blown away. So I will try. And, I walk down the aisle of any grocery store, and you still see, I would not call myself an environmentalist. I definitely care, but I've never really been active in anything. But I walk down the aisle and you see just a zillion plastic bottles, and I try to be a little more conscious about not using single-use plastic bottles and so on. When you walk down one of those aisles, you're like, is it any use? Am I making any difference? Or
you are. You are. If everybody does just a little bit. I got a friend that does. He has a link that says like 1 piece a day. If every fisherman grabs 1 piece of garbage out of the water per day, every single day, the numbers are staggering. And you know, that's it. So for you to do it, for me to do it, for her, I mean, if everyone just does a tiny bit, it's going to make a big impact. So keep on doing what you're doing. And yeah, there's going to be plastic for a while, but I believe everything's going to be converted ultimately to these biodegradable paper containers that have like a wax lining in them and that sort of thing. That's what you're going to start finding in hotels, I believe, over the course of the years. I'm working with a water company right now that's doing exactly that. And it's actually a water that gets into your cells as opposed to regular tap water, which kind of like you kind of like shed out. And so it's a high quality in a biodegradable container, and they're working on it right now.
Amazing. So, it's probably all going to be healthier. I mean, I always worry like, well, there's plastics. Are these even really? You know, I don't even like to microwave food in like a plastic container or something. Like
right.
That. I don't know if that's such a great idea.
Exactly.
Well, keep it up. I will do my tiny little part. And as you said, maybe we can all really make a difference if everybody does one little thing. And speaking of one little thing that you've been doing is, I was joking before about bass versus bass and are you in a band? But I found out that you play a drum, and I hope I'm saying this right because I YouTubed a few videos of it on how to play it properly. Is it the Jimbei drum?
Wow. I mean, spot on. I was hanging, waiting. I was like, is he gonna get it? Is he gonna call it Bluefish?
D is silent. The D is silent.
Yeah.
But,
hello, Miss Pan.
How did you? Pan, is it Pan? Is it Pan? A little. I can help out with the Pan.
I believe I can help.
Who are you? That's the two of us in our tuxedos back in Santa Monica.
How
does that become the instrument that you play? How is that? You know, how'd you get introduced to that?
Central Park as a kid with my dad. He was a big runner. He was a jogger. He jogged in the snow. He jogged, he was like Forrest Gump. He would run 5 miles a day, no matter what. And he'd be like, Peter, do you want to run? I'd be like, nah, jogging's not for me. I just don't like it. So I would sit in the park, and sometimes it'd be a weekend or Friday after work or whatever. And guys would get together in a drum circle. There was a Haitian drum circle, and then there was a African drum circle. And I used to just sit there and like, wow, this is so cool. I wound up getting a drum set at home. I played the bongos, and then I got a set of congas, and I wasn't really that great at any of them. And then when I was about 27, 30, I started taking Jimbei lessons from a African teacher in Miami. Okay. And I would play with him. We'd go on the boat sometimes to have some privacy, and we'd play out there in the boat. And then I would come up to New York. I started subletting apartments up in New York, and I found this drum school. It was called Joniba Drum and Dance over by 17th between like Park. It was right off Park, right by that Barnes and Nobles over there by Union Square, kind of like a block over.
Sure.
Yeah. So I would go there 2 to 3 times a week, and I would take drum lessons from the guys from Guinea, West Africa, and I knew them by name. And I would buy drums that were hand carved by these guys, goat skin that they would wet, put around the drum, shave with a razor blade, pull it tight with strings. They taught me how to do it all. And I learned all these rhythms. And then one day they said, hey, Peter, I think you're ready. I'm like, ready for what? They're like, oh, we need another guy in the dance class. Can you play for the dance class? And there's like 11 drummers, and there's 30 women coming at us, and they're dripping sweat, and they're
11 drummers drumming?
11 drummers drumming.
10 pipers piping?
10 pipers piping and 30 women sweating.
Or was it 12? 30, that's the original song when it was like, okay, we can't go from 30, folks. We're just going to do 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah, it's just too many. It's just too many.
Yeah,
it's like 6-minute abs. You can do it in 5 minutes. No, it's 6 minutes.
No, man. Seven's the number.
Yeah.
7's the number, man.
So anyway, so they said, Peter, come on, let's go. And the guy, when they do the break, they'll say like, okay, guys, when we start the drum, it's going to be ba 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 ba. So your beat is going to be like, dum, 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 dum. And I remember the guy. I look at him and I'm waiting for this tempo, and it was like ba ba da 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 da, and it was like ba ba da 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 for like 3 straight hours. My fingertips were like spurting blood. It was like Julia Childs cutting her arm off on Saturday Night Live, like where blood spurting out of her arm. You ever saw that? But you guys can all look that up. It's pretty funny.
The physical comedy of the original Saturday Night Lives in the 70s.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. But so I wound up playing for, I don't know, since 25 years I've been playing Jimbei, and I absolutely love it. And I will go to drum circles. I have friends that play, and we get together. Got a guy that plays a didgeridoo, which is made out of bamboo, and it's wax ended, and he's doing this therapeutic stuff. And the other guy's playing the dunduns, which are 3 drums, and their bass, it's like boom, 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 boom. And then 4 guys will play different rhythms, and then everyone starts dancing, and it's out of this world. It gives you chills when you lock in.
And Jimbei is totally different from the Congos.
Oh yeah, completely different. Jimbei is like you're coming off the drum with your energy, and with the congas, you're pushing down. It's more like your chest is getting into it. And I don't really know the technique, but I don't know if you can even see them. They're down there hanging on the wall, actually, way back there by the lights, the 3 lights. There's 3 Jimbeis hanging on the wall.
I can kind of see them way down the hall.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. And so, are you actively in a band like now? Are you doing
no, not at all.
Bring it on the boat? Do you bring it on the boat a little bit?
Yeah, I do. I do bring it around. I bring it on some trips. I do play in Central Park when I come up to New York in the summers. I play every weekend. I keep a drum up there, and it weighs like 1,000,000 pounds, so it's like a backbreaker. And then all of a sudden, you're playing. You find yourself there for 3-4 hours, and you're dripping sweat, and the crowd's huge, and you can't stop because you're like the one guy holding that rhythm with another 7 guys. And if you leave, everyone stops. So you're like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going. So yeah, New York. If you guys are there this summer, and June, July, August, I'll be in Central Park, Saturday, Sunday, playing in the drum circles if they'll have us.
And yes, and I think they will. People are going to be excited about this. And a quick lesson. We don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but a quick lesson on it from what I saw is that you don't play the middle of the drum and you don't really hit with your palms. You're playing like, you get your thumb in there and you're like at the edges and.
Yeah, like a velociraptor, like you just did. You were like a little like, yeah. It's very.
That's me reaching for the check at dinner.
Yeah.
When we used to have dinner with friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But usually when I'm having dinner with friends and the bill comes, they all just turn their chairs. It's like all of a sudden their chairs are on swivels.
Oh, I got a call. Hello. Hey.
Yeah. Oh, I had that with a client once, man. It was bad. We were at this event. I'm sorry. I digress. We're at this event.
We're here for the stories.
I'm new to the business. And I'm sitting in Las Vegas at this big event, 15,000 fishermen and CEOs and marketing guys. And I'm looking for sponsors, and I'm sitting with my sponsors, with their ad agency, with their marketing team, with the CEO, the vice president, and the main woman that handles everything. And 12 of us at this table. And the ad agency guy goes, "Hey, let's get another bottle of this wine. This is really good." And I'm like, "Oh man, these guys are really going all out for me." And so we're drinking, and everyone's ordering this and another this and desserts and this. And the bill comes, and the lady, the hostess, she goes, "Here you go, Mr. Miller." She literally said my name and put it in front of me. And I looked at everybody, and everybody was like,
yeah.
I was like, you have to be kidding me.
It was like, thanks for dinner, man. That 42 Latrus was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, but it sounds very expensive. Yeah, Latrus.
It's somewhere between like a Latour and a Chartreuse, I think, or something.
Yeah. And a Chateaubriand. Yes. That's the only French I know.
For everybody. Orange whip. Orange whip's for everybody.
Oh man, so that was a buzzkill. But getting back to the drumming, I think we're in drumming, but I don't play. I did play a few times. I got hired by my friend that was a drummer, that he got paid. That was his job. He was my teacher. And he said, "Peter, I got a job for you. It's a gig at this restaurant." I said, "What do we do?" He goes, "We just walk around. We wear the drum. We wear dashiki, which is the African garb, traditional African garb. And we walk around. People are sitting at their tables like, damn, that's loud." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I don't know. I've never done this."
For some reason, they thought this would be really good with your dinner. Really loud.
We're walking through. It's a full moon. And all of a sudden, they go, "Okay, everybody, let's go." The entire restaurant stands up. They open the door. It goes out to Miami Beach across the street, and they have a bonfire that's 20 feet high. They light it. Everyone has roses. They throw like flowers into the thing, and everyone starts dancing. And me and my buddy are ripping drums for like 2 straight hours. Like it was incredible. At first, I was like, no. And then he said, "Hey, Peter, they paid you $60. Like, how do you want me to get it to you?" I said, "Keep it, buddy." I mean, that was an experience of a lifetime, and I wasn't there for the dough. I was there for the show.
Bingo. And on that note, I know we are running out of time, so I will say this. He's the drummer He's the producer. He's the director. He's the creator. All this great stuff. He's a very busy man. There is no slack on this man's line. There's another fishing pun just finished off. So we must let him cast off because he's got so much to do. I hope I said that right, cast off.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. But we are hooked on everything that you are doing. And tell us more about how we can find out more about Uncharted Waters, about Peter Miller Fishing, and this new show that you have coming out on Discovery. So where can we find you?
Thank you so much for that. That was great. That was very funny, and I loved every one of them. They were really sharp and scalpel precision. And so my new show, Uncharted Waters, on the Discovery Channel with Peter Miller, is Uncharted Waters with Peter Miller. Uncharted Waters, yes. And then my handles on Instagram are Peter Miller Fishing, and then my other handle is Uncharted Waters TV _ Peter Miller, because there's a lot of Uncharted Water TV and this and that. Uncharted Waters TV _
So you're doing it yourself. You're doing it yourself. Uncharted.
Yeah. And then the website is unchartedwaterstv.com. So we're going to be airing on the Discovery Channel, 4th season. And we have great shows. I'm on a shrimp boat in Louisiana, catching sharks and catching big yellowfin tunas, having an amazing time. We're cooking. We're doing everything. Then we're in Miami catching sailfish, mahi, bass, and tarpon that were trying to get eaten by large bull sharks, 400-pound bull sharks. This is one show. The next show is going to be the Bahamas with, you name it, we're going to be doing it. Then we're going to do Key West, and we're going to go to dry tortugas, and it's going to be another phenomenal season. So I hope you guys can tune in, check me out on social media, and I really appreciate the opportunity and the good times talking with you.
Peter, thank you so much. Do not get this man mixed up with a very preppy clothing brand that is very closely to his name. And I think you know what I'm talking about, but they're not a sponsor, so they're not getting a shout out. But we will see you, and that's SEE, not SEA. But you're heading out to the sea yourself, and we will see everybody next time on Festival Pass Stories. Peter, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
This is Festival Pass Stories, a podcast series is told by the people who create and make festivals come to life. You will go behind the stage, kitchen, or studio door to hear the stories of passion and inspiration that started some of the world's most beloved festivals. Hear the startup stories and how an idea went from what if to what's next.